So here is the BestOffice Executive Desk Chair. Let's get it out of this box. I'll put it together for you, show you exactly how to do it, and then I'll give you my opinion on it. So it says here not to open it with a blade, but I'm just going to be very careful and do it anyway, because that's how I like to do it. So here's all the packaging that it comes with. Let's get rid of that stuff. Okay, let's make sure we got all the included parts, starting with 5 of these casters here. 1 base for the chair, 1 gas lift, 1 raising and lowering mechanism, 1 seat, 1 mesh back, 2 armrests, a left and a right, and a pack of hardware that includes a hex wrench for us. So we start off with the base flipped upside down, and we take this part of the caster here and press it into this hole. And we're going to do that for all 5 wheels until they look like this. Then we flip the base over onto its wheels, and we take the gas lift and press this end down into it. Then we're going to take the mesh backrest and flip it over to find these holes right here. And we're going to take the appropriate armrest and make sure that the holes are going to be on top, lined up with these here. So the left armrest will look something like this. Then we're heading over to the hardware pack. We're going to remove our hex key as well as 4 of the Z11 screws. Let's start with our first Z11 screw and drop it through this hole right here. And we'll line that up with the appropriate screw here in the backrest. Take the long end of our hex wrench and begin to screw it in place. You can leave it a little bit loose. We don't want to tighten it up just yet. Then we take our second Z11 bolt and do the exact same thing. And once we have both those in, it should have a little bit of wiggle room so we can tighten it up later. Now let's go over to the other armrest and line it up in the exact same way and screw in our bolts number 1 and number 2. And again, leaving ourselves a little bit of wiggle room so we can tighten it up at the end. But at this time, we should have a piece that looks like that. Now we're going to take our 4 Z25 bolts here and line up the holes on the bottom of our seat here with these holes on the bottom of the armrests. I'm going to start by having one hand underneath this side of the armrest, holding it up while I take one of my Z25 screws here, line it up with the hole in there, and just start it a little bit with my fingers. And then I'll tighten it up just a little bit. Remember, not too tight. Now we'll do that for the other 3 holes here. Now our chair should be looking like this, and we can go through and tighten up those bolts that we just put into it. Okay, now that all those bolts are nice and tight, let's move on to the next step. And for the next step, we need this raising and lowering mechanism here. And we'll line it up with these holes in the bottom of the seat with this piece right here facing the front. So it should be looking something like this. Now we'll take our 4 Z5 screws and start them by hand, one by one. Now we can take our hex wrench and tighten those up as well. And I'm going to do the front right one and then the back left one. And now back right and then front left. Now I'll go through one by one and make sure that they're all nice and tight. Now our chair should be looking like this, so let's flip it over and collect our 4 plastic caps here and cover up these screws right here. Now we'll get this piece ready right here and line up this piece right here with this piece right here, and we'll just drop it down onto it. Now we can sit on it gently to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. And we'll pull on this lever down here to make sure that it raises up and drops back down. You can also use this lever by pulling out and pushing in. If it's pushed in, the recline will be locked and it won't recline. If you pull out on it, then you'll be free to recline. You also have a dial right here on the bottom that you can twist in order to change how much pressure you need to put on the chair to make it recline. You can tighten it up or loosen it. See that the chair can easily slide around on these casters as well as spin around on its base. At its lowest point here, it's quite a ways away from my desk, so I'm gonna raise it up. And now it's a perfect height for working right here. Even though this is a relatively small desk, it fits really nicely into this little slot right here. And I'm 6'1", and you'll see that the back of this chair comes roughly up about to my shoulders here. And at its tallest point here, the chair stands roughly about 21.5 or maybe 22 inches up. And at its lowest point, it looks closer to 17.5 or maybe 18 inches. And we have roughly 18.5 inches of clearance here. So there you go. It's a pretty nice little chair.